and just to check in and spend some time with one another. I've started to really enjoy these kind of informal fireside chats that we have. That's just an easy opportunity to spend some time together, give you guys some updates, take some questions, and have an easy way of connecting with one another in this crazy COVID world we live in. So thanks for joining. I know all of you are busy doing many things personally and in support of scouting in Delmarva. So a couple of logistics before we start the call tonight. First, we are going to be recording tonight's call. So you'll see the recording symbol at the top. We're doing that so that if people can't join the call tonight, they can replay it at a later time. So just so you all are aware, our call tonight's going to be recorded. Secondly, as a reminder, if you're not speaking, keep your phone on mute so that it eliminates the background noise. I see lots of you have chosen not to turn your cameras on. However, for those of you who have, it's great to see your smiling faces. And for those of you who haven't chosen to turn your cameras on, we'd love to see more of your smiling faces. It's always great to see you all. And we'll be taking questions at the end. And at the end, you can take those by taking yourself off mute, or you can be putting questions into the chat window throughout the course of the fireside chat, and we'll answer them through the chat window when we get to the Q&A session. Or you can just kind of shout them out live in the Q&A when we get to that portion. So whatever is more comfortable for you. Both of those are totally okay channels. So let me talk to you a little bit about what our agenda is for tonight, and then we'll jump right into it. So our Council Commissioner, Steve Small, is going to start by giving us an update on the Map to Adventure. Robert, our Scout Executive, is going to talk to us with an update on membership. I'm going to have the dubious task of giving an update on the national bankruptcy proceedings. Then we're going to get back to the important business of council operations, and Steve's going to talk to us about summer camp and the fact that our camps are open for the summer. And Robert is going to share with us exciting news about the summer of service. And then Steve and Robert and I will all take your questions as part of the Q&A at the end. So I think we have a rich agenda with some important updates, and I look really forward to answering all of your questions as well. Some of you submitted questions ahead of time. For those of you who did, Steve, Robert, and I are going to be trying to weave in the answers to those questions as part of our updates. But for those who didn't have an opportunity to submit your questions beforehand, you'll certainly have an opportunity to answer, have any of those questions answered at the end. So let me stop talking for a couple minutes, and Steve, I'll hand it over to you so you can share a little bit about the Map to Adventure.
Great, thanks, Pat, and great to see everybody as well. As you know, we've had this Map to Adventure program for quite some time. Units that complete the requirements that we put in place every year can receive free cloth advancements for their unit and other recognition throughout the year. So for those folks that complete the requirements through the 2021 year, you can then get your free badges in 2022. So there are basically 4 requirements. This year we've been trying to pare them down a little bit. They were getting a little heavy at times. But I'll go through the 4 things for you. First of all is to submit the 2021 Journey to Excellence form when you do your unit recharter at the end of the year. Now, the JTE can be a powerful tool, and it's designed to assist units throughout the year. It should be used as a guide as you're planning, and it touches on all phases of unit health, including program, finance, membership and retention, and leader training and succession planning. I find that too often we use this tool at the end of the year as kind of a report card on how you did versus using it to help you plan throughout the year. So I encourage everyone to try to do that. The second requirement is to participate in this year's 2021 popcorn sale. We believe that the popcorn sales gives units an easy and effective way to meet their fundraising goals, and additionally provides scouting visibility throughout our communities. And from our scout law, we know that a scout is thrifty and a scout earns his own way in scouting. And this is one opportunity that each scout can help pay the way for their program that they enjoy all year long. The third requirement is centered around the Family Friends of Scouting campaign. And there's like two bullet points for this one. First of all, participate in the current year program, the 2021 program, by scheduling a presentation at some sort of unit-wide event. Could be a Court of Honor, a Blue and Gold, or something similar to that. Many of our units have already done that. The second is at Recharter, provide us with a date that you'd like to have your 2022 presentation completed so we can plan for next year as we wrap up this year. And the last one is my favorite one, of course. It's complete your Recharter and have an on-time turn in. This is, I get that rechartering is a process for all of us. It's not easy, but we really need everyone's help to complete everything in a timely manner so we can put that little process behind us early in the year so we're not chasing down things throughout the year. And anything you can do to help the district volunteers and our hardworking district executives would be well appreciated, I'm sure. So those are the 4 requirements for the 2021 to get your free advancement, cloth advancements in 2022. Back to you or to Robert, Pat? How do you want to do that?
Awesome. Thank you, Steve.
Okay.
Robert, we'll head over to you for an update on membership.
Awesome. There's nothing I get more excited about than talking about membership as an organization that I believe wholeheartedly that we're making a difference in the lives of young men and young women throughout the peninsula that we serve. We got some exciting things that we've accomplished. We just finished an event a couple weeks ago for potential Sea Scouts, where we hope to start at least 3 to 5 more Sea Scout ships on the peninsula. We did a Together We Plan where we invited all the yacht clubs and marinas to that event, in which we shared with them the benefits of Sea Scouting. And like I shared, I'm excited to think that we're going to get 3 to 5 units started there, Sea Scout programs. What I'm excited to share with all of you today is I got the date, time, and location is going to be Zoom, but we have another event coming up that we're going to open up to all of our existing charter partners, especially our community charter partners like the Rotaries, Lions, Kiwanis, non-church affiliated, but I'm thinking we're also likely going to invite our church affiliated charter partners as well to a special event. It's a free event that we have a guest speaker. Some of you may know him. He played baseball for the Phillies. He's known as the Flying Hawaiian or Shane Victorino. And he's agreed to be our guest speaker and be able to answer questions from volunteers on and community leaders as to how scouting's played an impact or what his thoughts are as to how he benefited from scouting. That event is coming up on April 19th at 7 p.m. Monday night. And that will be a Zoom event that will have a registration, and we'll put it out via our social media, and we'll be sending direct mail as well as emails to all the schools and Elks Lodges and Moose Lodges and all the different potential charter partners that might consider starting a scout unit with us. So that is a great opportunity. We also have our Get Out and Scout spring campaign that a good number of our volunteers help put together. So anything we can do to engage youth and leaders to get involved. Our ability to serve youth is greatly linked to the number of adult volunteers we have at all levels of the organization, whether at the district or at the unit. And there are several things that I reached out to the national organization for some statistics. And so I'm going to share some statistics with you on why parents are choosing to leave the Cub Scout program with their families. The 28.3% of the parents that are leaving the organization says our den/pack had poor leadership. 20% said he or she was no longer interested in the program. 17.1%, our family didn't feel welcome. 14.8% said that it was too expensive. 12.8%, too much fundraising. 10.4% never received any communication. 9.9%, we did not feel safe in scouting. And 9%, we're unsure about a BSA's financial future. It goes down, the others are much smaller, and that's the reason for some of our Cub Scouts parents. But again, if we can do a better job in some of these or being aware of that, I think that's going to help. But critically important is we're losing volunteers in the Cub Scout section as well. I think Steve, as our council commissioner, shared a valuable report with me, and we have lost a lot of Cub Scout leaders this past year. And many of them, so here the response is there, 23%, my child crossed over or joined a new unit. So that's great. They crossed over probably to a Scout troop. 20.9, child no longer in the program. We're not interested. 17.2%, my leadership term ended. 16% no longer have time. 11% unsure about the BSA's financial future. 10.8% disagreement with the unit leadership. So, I mean, some of these things I think we need to be aware of and just be sensitive and figure out how we can engage volunteers so they stay in. And for the Boy Scout program, this is, for a reason why they're leaving, not that we ever want them to leave, but the top reason that Scouts are leaving our program is I earned my eagle. So it's not too bad, but we'd still love them to stay committed and engaged. 38%, the next highest reason, too old to be a youth member in the program. So I think that's 88% of the youth are leaving either because they got their eagle or they aged out. 19% says they're too busy with other activities. 11% problems with the adult leadership of the troop. 11% is the activities are no longer interesting. So it's just, there's a number of things that we need to be aware of as adult leaders. If you're on this, you're one of our key leaders. If you're tuning into this key 3 discussion, and you're wanting more information. So these are some things that we need to be cognizant of, but whatever we can do, I got to tell you, my heart breaks and goes out. If you've watched the media of just this last week, where we had some of these Wilmington youth go into Elkton and they ended up getting, unfortunately, a few of them lost their lives. And I just feel if they were a part of scouting, they could have been saved, just the circumstances and things like that. And not all of our kids have those opportunities. And so if we can focus on growing and having opportunities for young men and young women to join our organization through some of these new joining opportunities we're having to organize new units, that'll be critical in our ability to make a difference in the communities we serve. So whatever we can do to continuously look at ways we can serve kids, and we know the atmosphere has changed because we don't have school access. We're still in COVID, but I got to tell you, families are looking for activities that kids can do, and scouting can provide a safe outdoor experience while following social distancing. So it is exciting that we can be a major part of the solution to a lot of the things that are going on in society, as well as facing COVID. And many of our units have found safe ways to carry out programs and activities in a safe COVID-free environment.
Awesome. Thank you, Robert. Great update on membership, and obviously an area of focus for all of us. Nothing more important than growing our membership. So I want to give you all an update on the current status of the BSA's bankruptcy proceedings, and also a general sense of how that impacts us as a council as well. So first of all, the key 3 and our VP of governance for the council, who, by the way, has a great deal of experience with class action lawsuits. We very regularly participate in updates provided by the national organization, as well as an ad hoc committee of all of the local Boy Scout councils. So we're very regularly participating in updates on the bankruptcy. I should say, though, that due to the fact that the bankruptcy is open litigation, I have to keep my updates at somewhat of a high level. That said, I do think I can give you a reasonably good sense about where we are while not violating any of the confidentiality agreements that are in place. But there are some detail level questions I'm not going to be able to answer, unfortunately. So since you'll all recall that the bar date for filing abuse claims as part of the BSA's Chapter 11 bankruptcy case was in early November, I'm sure you've all seen reports about large numbers of claims being filed. And I mean, very truly, it's an existential moment for the organization. And I'm sure each of you feel the pain that any one youth hurt in our program is just heartbreaking. And right from the start, I want to echo 3 things that I heard from the national president in a recent update that we had with the National Key 3. First and foremost, the victims matter. And our ability to compensate the victims of abuse is quite simply a matter of accountability for the Boy Scouts, plain and simple. We teach our scouts all the time about accountability for our actions, and this, our ability to appropriately compensate victims of abuse is nothing more than the right thing to do, and our teaching scouts what accountability is all about. Second, the mission of the Boy Scouts matters. We really do need to put the mission of the Boy Scouts first. This movement was built on character values that stand the test of time and that mean something and that need to endure. And we need to continue to be focused on keeping the mission of the Boy Scouts first and working together tirelessly in order to make sure that it continues. And in order to do that, it's going to require all of us working together and all of the local councils working together. There are 253 local councils in the Boy Scouts national movement, and it will require all of us working together with the national organization in order to ensure that the mission of scouting continues. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. And then the third thing the national president focused on was exactly what Robert was just talking about. Scouting membership matters. Everything we do depends on membership. Our ability to recruit has everything to do with our ability to spread the values of scouting, our ability to maintain our facilities of scouting, our ability to continue to fund the pension plan that so many professional scouters have spent their lives paying into. So membership growth isn't optional, it's really kind of required. So 3 things matter as the Boy Scouts are going through this national bankruptcy proceeding. The victims matter, the mission matters, membership matters. So I just kind of want to frame the discussion in those 3 things. So let me give you a little bit of an update as to where we are. The mediation process has been in full swing since about mid-January. If successful, and we certainly have no reason to believe that it won't be successful, the mediation will ultimately reorganize the National Boy Scouts of America so that it'll be economically viable into the future, including being financially strong enough to support the long-term obligations under the pension plan, as well as continuing the mission of scouting and supporting its national high adventure bases as well, by the way. And it will comprehensively resolve abuse allegations against the national BSA and any local council that is participating in the settlement agreement with the victims. In early March, the BSA filed its formal restructuring plan. You've probably read some newspaper articles about that, as well as disclosure statements. And that filing of that formal plan was a really important step in the process and kind of signaled that the train at this point is moving down the track at this point. So, you know, we were in a kind of a waiting process as we waited for that bar date to happen and all of the kind of machinations leading up to the filing of this plan. But now that the plan is filed, the train is on the track and it's moving forward, which is a really good thing, so that we can all kind of be in forward motion towards getting this whole thing behind us. So the mediation and the negotiations are continuing. There was a hearing earlier this month. There's another one in mid-April. If the court approves the disclosure statement, which is what the hearing is in April, then basically the plan goes out for a vote to all of the creditors of the national BSA, and those votes will come back in the June-ish timeframe. And then assuming that there's a hearing in mid-summertime, like the July timeframe, and assuming that that hearing is successful, the emergence from the Chapter 11 bankruptcy would be in early August. Now, I say all those things as if the court operates at a perfectly orderly pace and all these things happen exactly on schedule, and that's not likely to happen exactly as perfectly as or simply as I just laid it out. But that's the general process about what will happen. I mentioned that there was a hearing about a week or so ago, and we got some good indicators at that hearing. First of all, there was a ruling in the BSA's favor about an extension of a preliminary injunction, which protects the local councils against abuse claims, extending basically a protection that was previously in place. But what was as important to that extension of that injunction was some of the language which the judge used as she was presiding. At the hearing, she repeated the dual purpose of the BSA's bankruptcy case, which is to compensate victims for the abuse they suffered and to preserve scouting. And it was the first time that the judge herself had emphasized that second part in the courtroom proceedings. And the fact that the judge emphasized that second part counterbalanced with the taking care of the compensation of victims, we believe is a very good sign that the judge feels good about all of the work that the national movement and all of the local councils together have been doing in order to really show good faith efforts to work tirelessly and with vigor at coming to a settlement that really is fair for all of the victims of abuse, as well as the creditors for the other, bankruptcy issues with the national organization. The victims of abuse really are the central point of this bankruptcy case, though. So, while the mediation and the negotiation is still ongoing, and obviously these are unpredictable kinds of proceedings, we take that hearing from a week or so ago as a good sign. And while we don't want to take any one sentence too far out of context, we do take the judge's words really as a very good sign from that particular hearing. So what does all that mean for our council? So I mentioned before there are 253 local councils, and one of the things that's been very clear from the very beginning is that it is imperative that all of the local councils together work together to preserve the mission of scouting. The national organization alone cannot fund a settlement that would be nearly appropriate enough to appropriately compensate the victims. And it's clear from the research the claimants have done, and frankly, the national data supports this belief as well, that most of the assets of the Boy Scouts of America sit in local councils as well. So it doesn't take a whole lot of research to realize that it's the councils, which is where most of the assets of the Boy Scouts live. So so the councils really have had to work together to really think through how the settlement could be funded. Not that we'll have to fund all of the settlement. Obviously, National will have to participate as well, and the insurance companies will have a part to play in the settlement also. But all 253 of these councils are going to have to come together and participate in an aggregate dollar value settlement. And I'm pleased to say that all 253 councils really have come to the table and are really participating in the process. And it's that coming together that has really impressed the courts and really has given evidence that the Boy Scouts of America really are serious about their mission and really do want to continue preserving the values of scouting into the future. So the way that will work, there's an aggregate settlement, and then each council will be assessed basically a portion of that aggregate settlement based on the unique details of that particular council. And so we have been at this point given an initial estimate of what our contribution to that settlement will be. And that was done so that we could respond with a good faith estimate or answer as to whether or not we could participate at the expected level. And that was necessary so that it could inform the negotiations that are ongoing in the proceedings. And so while I can't share the exact number that has been given to our council at this moment, and to be fair, the number that we have at this moment could change because the negotiations and the mediation process is still ongoing. What I can tell you is that we can fund that settlement contribution with unrestricted assets of the council. So that means we would be able to fund that settlement contribution without needing to tap into any donor restricted funds, nor would we have to consider the sale of any council properties at this time with what we're being asked to contribute to the settlement. So, and the settlement number that we've been given, we believe is built based on a fairly conservative number from the national organization. So that's what I can tell you about the initial estimate we've been given for the settlement of our council. So I think that gives you the most critical details about the bankruptcy. I wish I were giving you a cheerier update. I don't really I wish I had any of the updates that Steve or Robert were giving tonight. I know it's a tough one to hear. It's certainly a tough one to deliver. It's a difficult moment for our organization and no doubt a challenging time for our council as well. But I want to remind you that today we have the best youth protection program of any youth serving organization in the world. And we can be justifiably proud of the youth protection program that we have in place. It's a program that many youth serving organizations look to and borrow in order to build programs similar in other youth serving organizations. And I hope that you can see from the level of detail I've tried to share with you today that we're committed to sharing with you as much detail as we can, as much as we think is practical. And we think transparency wherever it's possible is really important in the process. So we'll share with you as much as we think we can share with you whenever we think we can share it with you. And I'll close by saying this: while this bankruptcy stuff requires important focus for the national organization and certainly for the council leadership, the work of the council goes on. And we need our council staff and we need all of you as volunteers laser focused on everything else, building character, developing leaders, changing lives. So I hope that you, in the light of this difficult time the organization is going through, shift all of your focus to taking the time to share your scouting impact story with those you meet over the coming weeks and the coming months. And I hope you, like me, remain undaunted in your commitment to serve this program with an unwavering dedication, because the mission of the Boy Scouts of America is so important. And as Robert talked about a few minutes ago, we see examples in the news every day where we realize it's more important today than it ever has been. So we're going to weather this storm, and we need leaders like you sharing the story and continuing to change lives and build character. So keep focused on doing that. We've got some great people on the council board who are focused on the bankruptcy trust us. We got all the best interests in mind, and we'll take care of this. You guys keep doing your thing and changing lives every day and make us proud. And with that, let's talk about the real stuff and get to summer camp. Steve, I turn it over to you.
Thanks, Pat, for first of all for turning it over and also for taking care of that. I will have to admit, though, that Robert and I met the other day and kind of discussed tonight's agenda, and Pat missed that meeting, and we were divvying up the task for the night. So I feel a little bit bad about that.
So the moral of the story is never miss a meeting.
Correct. Yes. So just we did have a couple of pre-questions about camp, and I just want to go over it with you guys. So camp, as Pat said earlier, is open. That's very exciting news. The second piece of that really exciting news that the state of Maryland is now allowing out-of-state campers to visit camp. So that's great news for everybody here in Delaware that we can go up to Rodney or Henson and enjoy summer camp. Currently, there's about 3,000 youth registrations at Camp Rodney, which is great news. Rick and his team are working to put the staff together to get ready for camp. Down in Henson, about 800 scouts are there, and Ryan is working hard down there as well. So good news at both of the camps. Things will be happening. The bigger question, I guess, now that we decided we're going to be open and have scouts in camp, what will it look like? Last year, as we kind of worked our way through, learned about the pandemic and what it meant and what we had to do, we went through, oh gosh, just different scenarios of what camp would look like. It feels like right now, and we don't have all the guidance at this point, but it feels like summer camp's going to look a lot like we're used to. Certainly the COVID protocols that we're all getting accustomed to, masking, social distancing, hand washing, cleaning of public areas will all be in place. But it feels like potentially there's an opportunity for that dining hall to be open, maybe not in the family style that we're used to, but maybe in a cafeteria style, and that scouts will be able to not have to travel in units. They'll be able to go to Maribatt's in pairs, things like that. We're still waiting for guidance on whether scouts will have to quarantine before they come to camp, or whether they'll have to, leaders will have to have a COVID test or a vaccine. We don't know those things yet. But we do know that camp's open, and we're pretty excited about that, and that it's going to look a lot like what we're used to. We may have some different programs. We're not sure about campfires right now. Units might be assigned specific check-in times just to avoid large crowds, things like that. But it's pretty exciting news that we are having camp. A lot of people are going. I think there's a fair amount of folks out there that have some pent-up energy and ready to get to camp and enjoy all the things that both Rodney and Henson have to offer. So that's great news. Robert, I'll get you a chance to get onto the service piece.
Summer of Service is an exciting opportunity. The national organization is encouraging all of us to jump on board. And as a council, we are definitely jumping on board. It is a visibility campaign, but Summer of Service is really not a surprise, and it shouldn't be anything new for any of us, because for all of us, scouting is more than a program, it's a lifestyle. And there's things that we do almost on a daily basis that is really a summer of service. And so what National is asking us to do is campaign or share, as Pat has mentioned, all the great things that we're currently doing with regards to promote all the good things that scouting is doing, from Eagle projects to cleanups to anything that your unit is doing, to share it and post it on social media and hashtag Summer of Service. Now we're taking it another step further, because a lot of the things that our scouts do is heroic in nature. I'm gonna call Jim Demas out here. Last year he did a phenomenal job and always does. I enjoy watching his account, but I mean, he lives his life as a scout, and it's a lifestyle. And when COVID hit, he asked if we could do a blood drive, because there is a great need for blood for those people that are affected in hospitals. And when COVID first struck, there was a need because people will stop donating blood. Well, we know a lot more about the virus today, and we feel that we can do things a lot safer, and we'd like to partner with the Red Cross or others to do blood drives throughout the peninsula as part of our summer of service. And really, blood drives, as you're all aware, saves lives that we can all measure. They say, you know, one donation of blood could save 3 lives or could impact more people. So we'd like to do the summer of service. The other part of that is scouting for food. It's another opportunity. This is through May, through the summer. So starting next month, excuse me, not next month, but starting in, starting in April, not May. Starting in April, they're asking for you to list any community service projects or anything we do as an organization, PAC, troop, district, council, to be hashtagging our summer activities as summer of service, if it is a community service project. As I shared, we are looking at doing some initiatives that we can boost our community service hours. And a lot of this is to gain service hours. And a lot of this is to gain hours. And a lot of this is to gain hours. And a lot of this is to gain hours. And a lot of this is to gain hours. Just muted. Is everybody hearing feedback? Everybody hearing feedback?
Yes.
If
Bob, would you mute your mic, please?
Okay, is that better? So this summer of service is an opportunity for us to gain a lot more publicity and awareness in the communities we serve. And I got to tell you, this is a huge thing for us as an organization because a lot of the things we do goes unnoticed. And that's what scouting does. We don't do things to seek out recognition, right? We don't do the good turns and acts of service that we do to go out and brag about it. But we're asking all of us to be conscious and cognizant of the fact that we need to be more vocal today on the acts and service that we do as a scouting organization, because we believe it's also going to help us grow our membership. As an organization, we tend to be quite invisible because we meet indoors, we hike and camp outdoors, away from the general eye of the public. And back in the day when I was in Hawaii, we did a survey with a research company, and would you believe that non-scout families, so none of us, we're all scout families, but non-scout families were interviewed in this survey, and they were not aware that scouting was still around, which broke our heart as professional scouters to see that. But if you're a non-scout family, you don't notice that scouts are around or doing activities. But as scouts, you're a lot more aware. Just like if you're shopping for a car, you buy a particular brand or make of car, all of a sudden you see all the same cars on the road. But if you're not shopping around for that car, it's totally out of sight, out of mind, and you don't even notice it so much. And that's where we're hoping this summer of service, as well as the things that we can do in social media, participating in the blood drives, and sharing it, and hashtagging Everyday Hero Scout, Everyday Hero Scout, and hashtagging that so that we can share these stories amongst our media platforms so more people can be aware of what we're doing. And it's not enough to share it just on your personal page or your PAC or your troop page, but we're asking you to also share it in the community Facebook pages as well. So in the communities that we all live in, there are community social media pages. And can we share it in those pages and platforms, whether it's Nextdoor or your community social media pages, so that more people build an awareness of what's going on in scouting? And the way social media works is not only do we want to share those stories, but we want to be able to tag other people. We want to be able to like and comment those things, because in doing so, it puts those posts on a much higher level so more people see it. And we need to be able to share all the good things that we're doing so that more people are aware of scouting. It's like going to a restaurant. Are you going to go to the restaurant that has a long line or the restaurant that has no line? Everybody wants to go to the restaurant that has the long line because they assume, right, that it's a great restaurant. We need to create the buzz of what scouting is, and that's why we're calling this Summer of Service, for everybody to show all the good deeds that we do as an organization, but also, as Steve mentioned, to participate in the popcorn sale, which isn't the summer, it's later on, but popcorn and scouting for food as an organization. If every one of our units participated and canvassed every one of the communities we serve, we could make such a huge difference in the visibility of our organization going forward in every community, in every neighborhood, with the flyers of scouting for food or going door to door selling popcorn. The image and the visibility would make us a lot more prominent and able for more young men and young women to join us as a program as well. So the Summer of Service is really a big media campaign for us to help us grow our program, as well as to share all the good deeds that we do up and down the peninsula. So we need your help to share all these things. And as you see fellow Scouters share these things, we need to like, share, and comment it so more people, particularly our non-Scout counterparts, can see this and be aware of the work that we're doing. So, and any questions on Summer of Service?
Or are there any questions on anything? That with Robert's update on Summer of Service, that brings us right into our Q&A. And I think we've been answering the questions in the chat as we have gone along. So I think we can take any questions. So feel free to unmute your phones and shout them out. Or type them in the chat. We'll answer them from there as well.
Yeah, hashtag exactly Tommy Watts is just putting the pound sign on Summer of Service. Any type of service is community service. Any kind of community service, to hashtag it and share it on our social media pages. National will also pick it up and use it as they see fit. So obviously, whatever pictures or activities we can post, National can share that.
There's a question about popcorn and whether you can buy the product and send it to the military.
Yes. So popcorn, we do have an opportunity. There's a military popcorn sales. You could make military donations in various amounts, and that goes into buying popcorn for the military that gets sent overseas to our servicemen and women.
And also there's a question from Jason Bowman about any word on the National Jamboree.
You know, I have not.
I haven't heard anything about the National Jamboree other than there's planning going on. But whether or not,
I think they're putting a special committee together to talk about the plans of Jamboree, but I don't know any details. I don't have any dates or any information that has been shared with us at this time.
There's a question in the chat about what happens to funds left in the popcorn trails end from units. Will they be lost if not claimed?
I'm sorry, Pat. Was that question? I got stuck reading chat, so I lost your.
Yeah, you're the resident popcorn expert, Robert. What happens to the funds left in the popcorn trails end from units? Will it be lost if not claimed?
I do not believe the unit commissions. From what I'm told, the unit commissions will not be lost. But I've sent out multiple emails to our popcorn colonels or whomever is registered in our popcorn system from the units that the Scouts Amazon gift card prizes will be lost at the end of this month. It'll reset back to 0 for their awards. So the unit ones, to my knowledge, is not going to be lost, but the Scout Amazon gift card prizes will be lost. So that's something I need everybody's help to make sure that your Scouts have redeemed their prizes from Amazon before Trails End resets that system. And if you have not redeemed, I've sent out a couple emails now. If you have not yet redeemed, I'm going to run another report. If you've not yet redeemed your popcorn commission, you do need to go on there and ask for request a payout from Trails End, and they will direct deposit into your account. If you choose to not do the direct deposit, they can. There is a check option. They will cut the council a check. We prefer you do the direct deposit. because we went through quite a nightmare of trying to get APAC their commission, because we get debits and credits from the Trails In organization, and they did not detail to us that we received PAC XYZ's money that was owed to them, and we were not able to clear a check to them until we were able to validate that the funds that we received was supposed to go to PAC XYZ, if that makes sense. So the best way is, if you can, please ask for the payout and link it up to your unit account so that you can directly receive it and avoid the paper check route, because that just adds a few more hurdles to you actually getting your cash.
So Brian, I'm sure that our leaders' guides will be updated on a regular basis about the summer camp protocols for COVID. So as more information comes out, we'll be publishing that on a regular basis.
Great. Thanks, Steve. Good tip in the chat as well from Jason F. about some school districts being open to posting information about community events on their social media platforms. So I'd encourage you guys to work with your district committees on coordinating with the local school districts. Also an interesting article from Jim Demies on planning work about the future of the National Jamboree.
There's a question on the hashtag Everyday Hero Scout. Yes, you can use that with the hashtag Summer of Service. The hashtag Everyday Hero Scout is something that we're doing here in the Delmarva Council. There is hashtag Everyday Hero, but there is not a hashtag Everyday Hero Scout. So if we start that, we could at least then start pulling our own volunteers and our own Delmarva Council specific stuff of what we do, whether you're donating blood or doing food drives or whatever you're doing, to share that so that we know that when we can do a search later on in Google and we put a search on Everyday Hero Scout, that it is more specific to our council. If we put it just as Everyday Hero, it just goes out, and there's a lot more than just scouts and others that post information on a hashtag Everyday Hero.
Robert, there's two questions at the bottom of the chat about popcorn, one about redeeming prizes from Amazon and one about scholarships. Could you pick those up too?
So they did away with the scholarships from Trails End because a good number of individuals that qualified for the scholarships and went off and stopped doing scouting, they never went back and redeemed the scholarships. And Trails End is having a nightmare of accounting for some of those funds, so they ended up having to discontinue it so that they don't run into a nightmare of sorts, because folks haven't, not everybody that qualified and put in for the scholarships was redeeming it. And because it was raised and defined for a specific purpose, they're now stuck having to deal with custodial accounts of scholarship money for kids that may have gone to college or may not have gone to college and definitely didn't redeem those funds. Redeem their prizes, does that mean adding the gift card to an Amazon account? Redeem their prizes means they need to go into the Amazon, the Trails In system. They need to log in online to their individual Scout Trails In account, and they have to click on Redeem Awards. And once they click on Redeem Awards, they're going to get an email from Trails End with an Amazon gift card code. They get that Amazon. Once they get the gift card code, they have access to redeeming it on Amazon.com. So once they click on Redeem, they should get an email and they will be able to gain access to their gift card.
Awesome. That brings us to, I think, the end of the questions in the chat. Any other live questions from the room?
Can I add something real quick on the popcorn for the prizes? If you're a unit leader or popcorn colonel that has the administrator rights to your popcorn, for your unit's popcorn, you should be able to go into the system. It's going to show in the 2021, even though it was part of the 2020 campaign, they rolled the commissions and the prizes all into the 2021 campaign. If you click on the awards, you can see which of your scouts have not redeemed their gift cards yet. And if it does hold out, there's probably 6 more days before they lose the prize.
There is a question that just popped in about how the overall FOS program's going. And I'm gonna break protocol because I see them on my screen. Paul, would you mind giving an update on how the FOS program is going, since you oversee that from the field perspective?
So yes, on the field team, our friend scouting program is currently as a council at 41%. We're looking at about 52% of that is in community and 32% in family. We have been scheduling family campaign presentations more recently as people are getting back outside, wanting to hold them in person. So really looking forward to that. As a council, I'd have to look that up, but I believe we are past the 60% mark as an entire council for our Friends of Scouting campaign.
There's a question that just popped in about whether FOS money will be used in the settlements, and I fielded 3 of the same question in private messages as well during the time tonight, and the answer to that is no. The FOS money supports council operations, and those monies are not part of the monies that will be used to fund any of the settlement contributions. So no risk of any FOS contributions being part of the settlement funding from the council. Great question, though. Any other questions? Well, let me do a little bit of a commercial then before we wrap up. If you've not ever attended Wood Badge, there is an upcoming Wood Badge course. It's at Akron Scout Reservation, April 23rd to 25th and May 15th to the 16th. This is the first ever of the 5-day Wood Badge format. It's a new format to the course this year. So used to be you had to take 2 days off of work. You only have to take 1 day off of work now to attend Wood Badge. It's a great curriculum. Really looking forward to the course. It's already about 35 people signed up from across the council, so spots are filling up fast, but there is still room to register if you would like to take part in one of the premier training experiences that the Boy Scouts offer. And Seth has also just popped into the chat a reminder that MYLT, which is the youth equivalent to Wood Badge, so the premier training for youth leaders to be great leaders at the unit level, is July 25th to 30th at Henson. Spots also going quickly, so don't miss the opportunity to get your youth leaders signed up for that now as well. And then one other question we got before the session started was, are we going to keep continuing these virtual catch-ups after COVID starts opening things back up again and we can meet in person? And Steve and Robert and I were chatting about that a little bit earlier today. And the answer is, it's super easy to do these for us. And, you know, I think at one point we had 78 people on the call tonight. And, you know, it's as simple as identifying topics that are interesting and then throwing a session out there and having an opportunity to just connect. So I think the answer is yes. If it's relevant for you guys, it's an easy way for us to connect and be with all of you and answer questions and talk about things that are on your mind. So we're game if you're game. The thing I'd request though is, as you have things that are on your mind, pop one of us an email and say, hey, the next time you do one of those fireside chats, I'd love to talk about X. And then we'll know the things that are really interesting to you, so that as we're planning the agenda for these things, we end up putting things on the agenda that really are things that make it a worthwhile use of your time once we put them on the calendar. So if you guys think they're valuable, we'll certainly keep them going, for sure. All right, one last opportunity. Any last questions, comments, thoughts? Oh, after COVID, will the council combined meeting be restarted? Yes, we will absolutely be reinstituting our old routines as soon as we can get back to in-person. And we're starting to see a world where in-person is opening back up again. Vaccines are becoming more and more prevalent, and knock on wood, that means in-person scouting is right around the corner. And we're seeing more and more units taking more and more opportunities to find creative ways to be together. And I think the council will find more and more ways to follow suit.
So Jason had a question on our Scout Reach program. Yes, we still do have a Scout Reach program. We're actually working on recognizing one of our Scout Reach program aides. She's done a phenomenal job. A lot of that has gone online and virtual because many of our Scout Reach locations were not able to meet in person. So we've had to change the delivery of our Scout Reach program, and we are looking at boosting it back up again. We do have support from foundations to provide scouting to families that are less fortunate and less able. So we do have some, and we do have a budding relationship right now with the Boys and Girls Club that we're looking at going in and providing some Scout Reach at a number of the Boys and Girls Club sites. So that is a program that, yes, Friends of Scouting does support, and we do continue to try to serve those kids that are less fortunate with opportunities with Scout Reach.
And Jason Isherwood, point well taken as well about COVID teaching us that there also virtual works too. So we don't always have to be in person. We can do a whole lot of things virtually as well. And COVID has been a real teaching opportunity for all of us. So I think, you know, while in-person scouting opens back up, we've also learned a lot of things through COVID that we take with us. So, you know, as with everything, scouting evolves. And I think we take the lessons that we learned through the last year with us as we embark on the new phase of scouting. And I'm quite sure that it will have evolved from what scouting was in February of 2020 and before.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, listen, thank you guys for joining us tonight. And more importantly than that, thank you for everything that you do for scouting in Delmarva and for the specific thing that you do in the life-changing organization that is the Boy Scouts of America. This organization is great because of the faces that I'm looking at on this call. And it just is really humbling to know that we're on this journey with people like you. And I just really, from the bottom of my heart, want to thank you for all that you do for the young men and women that we serve every day. So keep up the awesome work. What you're doing is really, really important, and it really is changing lives. So thanks for what you do. It really matters. Have a great night, everyone.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Night, everyone.
Night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, guys.
Great job, Pat, Robert, Steve. Have a good night.
Thanks, sir. You too. Thanks for pinch hitting there when I threw that question to you, Paul.
Anytime.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks, Lisa. Check your messages, Rick.
My pleasure.
I saw it. I'll get you one.
All right. Okay.
Have a good night.
Hey guys, see you later.
Good night.